Hey, everybody, and welcome to Friday. Boy, I'll tell you, what a day, what a weekend we have ahead of us. But what we have yesterday and the day before was totally amazing. We have Ole Miss upsetting Georgia. We have Miami, the 10 seed, just rolling, on Thursday night. You got Alabama getting blown out. I mean, there's a little bit of something for everybody here. It's just totally amazing. But let's talk about where we are right now, okay? And that is college football's playoff Final Fours here. It might be the most dramatic semifinal field we've seen in a long, long time. Revenge, aha, yes, of course. Redemption, power football, pure chaos. Let's break it down. Let's start with Oregon and number one Indiana, okay? Now this is a rematch with a lot of tension here. Earlier this season, Indiana walked into Austin Stadium and stunned the Ducks 30-20, snapping Oregon's 18-game winning streak. And Fernando Mendoza, who carved up the Ducks and became, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner in the process, did an outstanding job while Dante Moore was held to just 200 yards. Now, Dan Lanning, the coach at Oregon, and Kurt Segretti, the coach at Indiana, they meet again. This time it's for a national championship berth on the line. Oregon's coming off a 23-0 shutout of Texas Tech. Indiana crushed Alabama, and I mean crushed Alabama, 38-3. So this is a heavyweight fight coming. Meanwhile, let's talk about the U. Miami's Mario Cristobal finally built a team he's always said that he wanted, and he got it. It's a violent team. It's a physical team. It's a relentless team. Quarterback Carson Beck has thrived behind the power running game and a defense that just suffocates people. It suffocated Ohio State, and we thought Ohio State had the best defense on the planet. Not anymore. Not anymore at all. It's the Hurricanes. Miami, front line on both sides of the ball, on the defense, on the offense. There is not a team of the Final Four that is as physical and as brutally difficult when it comes to tackling as Miami. That's hands down, no questions asked. And all you have to do is look at the Ohio State game, which they beat in an upset of 24-14, taking out last year's national champion. So, that's going to be a wild one. Now, the most enjoyable game last night was Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss, a team abandoned by Lane Kiffin, and somehow became better for it. Interim coach Pete Golding has a group of players playing angry. They're focused. They're explosive. Their last second win over Georgia, was one of the wildest games of the season. But would you expect anything else from Ole Miss? I mean, that's just crazy, crazy fun. I tell you, but that game last night was super. So here we are, Oregon, Indiana in a revenge game for the ages. Miami versus Ole Miss in a battle of identity and relevance. 4 teams, 1 trophy, 1 national title. And we got a totally, completely wide open field here. I don't think anybody knows who's going to win it, but I'll tell you what, it sure as hell is going to be entertaining. That we know for sure. All right, let's see what we got going here. Got some questions on the. Okay, yeah. Tomorrow, in Pittsburgh, the afternoon game is going to be the Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The winner gets the first round bye and also the North Championship. Lamar Jackson will be playing. This could be, we've got all kinds of speculation running around here. Lamar Jackson, who has not been healthy all year round, has now, he's coming back after a back contusion. Meanwhile, you've got Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers coming into the game. They had a horrible game against Cleveland last week. They didn't even score a touchdown. Of course, they only gave up 1 touchdown. So we'll have to see which team shows up for both sides. Because both Baltimore and Pittsburgh had been pretty schizophrenic Now, going into that game with Cleveland, the Steelers had won 4 straight. It looked like, you know, things were coming up Aaron's way, Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers obviously wants that second, just another chance at the playoffs. Meanwhile, John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson were legitimate contenders for what many thought was a Super Bowl berth. Okay, so we have Kansas City's gone. All right, we didn't expect that. Philadelphia not playing well. Those are last year's Super Bowl participants. Things were looking good in Los Angeles. That's kind of crazy now. So this again, just like we talked about the CFP, this is really wide open, totally wide open, and it's going to be a very interesting thing. That's going to be the game on Sunday night. Sunday night, Pittsburgh against the Ravens. That game will be played in Pittsburgh. Tomorrow, let's go to the doubleheader. Both these games are going to be on ESPN. First game at 4:30 on ESPN tomorrow is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. This is, I don't know what to tell you, folks. This, all Tampa Bay had to do was walk in, win one game of the last 3 or 4, and bing, they're in. Okay. But they lost to New Orleans, then they lost last week to, the Dolphins and Atlanta. And basically, the last 3 games, which was a loss to New Orleans, a loss to Atlanta at home, and then, of course, last week, the Dolphins on the road. Now, it's a very bizarre situation. They take on the Carolina Panthers. If they beat the Carolina Panthers, okay, they still don't get the title until the game with the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons is over. That game, the Falcons versus the Saints, the Saints have to win. If the Falcons beat the Saints, Carolina is the champion. Regardless of what Tampa Bay does. So if Tampa Bay beats Carolina and the Falcons beat the Saints, then Carolina's in. And you have a sub-500 team, in that case, hosting a playoff game. It's absolutely nuts. Seattle, tomorrow night. That's the game. Seattle 49ers. Why is it the game? Well, it's for top seed in the NFC. And I got to tell you, the way San Francisco is playing this right now, they just might be the best team in all of football. Again, it's been a week-to-week league. We've been streaks, first 6 weeks of the season. We're talking about Baker Mayfield and him possibly being the MVP. Then they started on their little bobble and started losing. And we moved over and oh man, look, there was the Rams. The Rams are playing football, outstanding. Matthew Stafford, maybe he could get the MVP. They've stumbled a bit. Now, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, they even played without George Kittle last week. Hopefully they'll have Kittle back by Saturday night. But right now, I don't think anybody wants to play the 49ers. They've got a solid running game. Their passing game is certainly fine. And other than the interesting part here is, should the 49ers win, okay, and they are at home, Brock Purdy has not lost a playoff game. So that's kind of fun. And it's the possibility that if they win, they're the number 1 seed. You got to go through San Francisco. And, oh, by the way, at Levi Stadium, that's where the Super Bowl is going to be. They could very well be hosting the Super Bowl in a few weeks' time if they can get by Seattle tonight. I'm sorry, Seattle tomorrow night. Got my days mixed up. So there's, that's what we've got over Saturday. So there's plenty of really good football coming up. Let's take some questions. Let's talk about, is Miami the most physical football team you've seen. Absolutely, they are. And I will tell you that I was not, you know, I've always been a fan of Mario Cristobal. I've always been a fan of the University of Miami and the way they do things. But there's, you've heard me here. I've criticized Cristobal for having, issues when it comes to time management. Some, they'll end up doing something stupid, lose a game they should have won, and put themselves in peril. It happened this year, and we talked about the Georgia Tech game, which kept them out of the ACC title game. A lot of people said, no, Notre Dame should be in, Miami shouldn't. Miami got in. What did Miami do? They proved, without question, A, they deserved it, and B, they just might be the team to beat. The physicality, this is what Mario Cristobal wanted, envisioned, figured out a long time ago. He wanted to be not what the U used to be, because you can't do that anymore. You don't keep people that long. The transfer portal, which opened today, we'll see how the movement is going on that. But man, anything can happen there. And Miami will be looking for another quarterback because Carson Beck will be moving on. That being said, Miami's physicality and their ability to control the line of scrimmage on both sides, both on the offense and defense, I'll tell you what, they're going to be tough to beat. Now, Kurt Singretti, anybody who watched Indiana just absolutely boat race over Alabama in the Rose Bowl yesterday had to be impressed with the fact that they are an amazing football team. Indiana has earned that number one ranking. That being said, Dan Lanning has a way of making Oregon play and punch, right back. Now, that game's going to be played in Atlanta. That's the Peach Bowl game, and it's going to be played a week from today. The Miami game, of course, against Ole Miss, that's going to be played where else? Out in Arizona at the Fiesta Bowl. So that's your semifinals, as we talked a little earlier. So your question about, is Miami the most physical team? Yes. Is Ole Miss the scariest team? Probably. You just don't. The offense is just, it's fun to watch. Those guys are nuts. They run all over the field. They seem to. It's almost like playing football in the in the backyard. Pete Golding, who's the interim coach, has done a really nice job. He has really done an outstanding job. All credit to him. The offense has been doing really well. And to be honest, I think you have to look at Ole Miss after all they've been through with Kiffin and that whole fiasco, and the fact that they have made it to the semifinal game. That tells you a lot about what's going on here. All right. Let's see. What's your next question? All right, Don. Okay, Don. Here's what we got from you. You're telling me, or you're asking me, sorry, is this weekend the last weekend for either John Harbaugh in Baltimore or Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh? Ooh, that's a tough one. I think, and this is just, I'm not into firing coaches, okay? That's not something I do. That's up to an owner. I think that Steve Bisciotti, who owns the Ravens, it would be the most likely, if they don't make it, if they lose out, would be the most likely to reevaluate whether or not he would like to bring John Harbaugh back, or he wants to get rid of it. I think what we've seen in Pittsburgh with the Rooneys, who's only had 3 coaches since 1969, is they're not apt to usually pull the trigger on anything quickly. So I think that tells you something about what we're looking into here. Is, would I be surprised if Mike Tomlin, was gone at Pittsburgh? No. Would he have a job in about 20 seconds after he left the facility? Yes. Would it probably be with the New York Giants? Maybe. Would he have a job as a broadcaster? He's a tremendous speaker. So, yeah, I think that would work too. So, if you're asking me here, I know I'm dancing around the answer, but the only thing I can tell you, again, because I have no certainty as to what goes on, I would think that if one of those two guys get fired or let go, or however you want to put it, move on. A, they're both going to get a top-notch job. They will not have to worry about that. B, only because of the stability of the way the Steelers run the organization. And also, by the way, Baltimore also runs it that way. Maybe Eric DeCosta, maybe Steve Bisciotti, maybe John Harbaugh all sit down and say, you know what, guys, this just isn't working. We were supposed to be in the Super Bowl this year. We're not. Yes, people got hurt, but so did everybody else in the league. So maybe that works. I don't know. We'll see what goes on from that standpoint. To answer your question, I don't know, but if I had to guess which one of the two would get it, probably Harbaugh before Mike Tomlin, only because of the organization. What do we got here? All right. Boom. Okay. 49ers and Seahawks, you're saying, is Christian McCaffrey, the best and most versatile back I've ever seen? The answer to the question is he's an incredibly talented man. No, he is not. The most talented running back I've ever seen depends on what you look at. Now, I've been covering the NFL for 50 years, so two things that means. One, I'm old, and two, I've seen a lot of players. Christian McCaffrey is today, right now, if I wanted a running back, Christian McCaffrey would be my number one choice because he's like a Swiss Army knife. He'll get that. He can run like Derrick. Well, he can't run like Derrick Henry through the tackles, but he can pretty much get that from that standpoint. He can bounce outside and give you a little speed, get around the side, and run the edge and get down the field that way. And then, of course, he can catch passes. So he can do all of those three things best. If you're asking me about best backs I've ever seen, well, let's see. Running back that I've ever seen from a standpoint of just you could not stop them. Let's start with speed backs, okay? Speed backs would be Walter Payton. When I first started, he, of course, was amazing with the Chicago Bears, and that's a key from that standpoint. He was amazing. At the same time, so was Barry Sims of the Lions. Both of those players were really just off the hook when it came to being able to play from that standpoint. And I won't forget the power back, possibly the best power back we've seen in football for years. And unfortunately, his career was ended because of an injury. Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was the modern day, if you will, Derrick Henry. He was a bell cow. The one thing that he could do that Derrick couldn't do is he had sprinter speed. I mean, so you think about it. You got a guy as powerful as Derrick Henry. I can break the line like Derrick Henry, but could run, a 4.7 or 4.4 40. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's like taking it's like driving a Maserati. It just goes and goes and goes. So, without question, that is amazing. What we got here on Twitter? Oh, hang on a second, Twitter folks. Okay. All right. Yeah. Got a USF fan. Okay. Yeah. So Ohio State lost. That means Brian Hartline is open now to return and do his work as the new head coach of the University of South Florida. Do I expect him to be active in the portal? The answer to that question is yes. He's got to find a quarterback because Byron Brown has gone. There's going to be probably 10 players that follow Golish to Auburn. And, look, it's the way it is these days. Do I, in any way, shape, or form, feel bad that, Coach Golish is getting players? No, I don't. I don't begrudge him. It's just the way things are. And he's a good guy. I wish him well up in Auburn. He's a good man, great coach. And as long as he's not playing against USF, we're fine there. But Brian Hartline has got, he is the premier recruiter in the country. His ability to find what he needs to get his offense running, I'm sure he will be able to find it in the portal, which, as I said before, opened literally 12 hours ago. And so do I think that they'll be able to find what they need in the portal? He's done it before. So I expect he will do it again. Will he bring in some top name talent? No. There's 3 or 4 guys that that are on the Ohio State roster right now who are not happy, and they've entered the portal. Now, does that mean that he can get 4 of Ohio State's players to join the folks at USF? No, I don't think so. But can he get 1 or 2 of them? Probably. One of them might be a quarterback. We'll see. There's a lot of people out there. But to answer the question, Brian Hartline today now has the time and the energy to move forward and to build that roster. And I know there are a lot of Ohio State fans out there. They're wondering, wishing, oh God, we wish we had another week. I know a lot of USF fans were happy that Ohio State got bombed out by Miami, so that Brian Hartline could now focus on it at USF. So there you go. Hartline will be recruiting, and he'll be working that portal. I'm absolutely certain of that. There's no question to be answered about that. All right. What about the Bears, they say? All right. Well, what do you want to know about the Bears? You want to know, do they still have a chance for the number 1 seed? No, they do not. They do have a chance, however, for the number 2 seed. If they can win the game on, Sunday, excuse me. They win their game on Sunday, then yes, they have an opportunity to move to number 2 if the 49ers get beat by the if the 49ers beat the Seahawks and the Bears win, the Bears can get the number 2 seed in the NFC. All right, let's see what else is going on Instagram. Do we have an Instagram question here? We do. What is it? Okay, hang on. I'm right with you. Give me a sec. All right. Here's our Instagram question. With regard to the Lane Kiffin situation. Is it true that Lane Kiffin will get paid by LSU for the bonuses that he would have gotten had he coached at Ole Miss through the playoffs? Okay. How can I say this without being impolite? In one of the great scams of our time, Kiffin, maybe he's a brilliant negotiator. Clearly he must be. He's actually getting paid the bonus money by LSU that he would have made had he stayed at Ole Miss and coached them through the playoffs. So how much would that be? Well, so far, it's about $250,000. So he made $250,000 on a team he left for dead because he wanted to go to another school because he thought he'd have a chance to win a national championship there, while Pete Goling is coaching his butt off and doing an outstanding job with that super talented, Ole Miss team. If they make it to the championship game as crazy as it sounds and as crazy as it is, Kiffin will get $1 million from LSU. Call it a scam, call it a great bargaining strategy. I don't know what to tell you. I don't. This is a guy getting paid for a team that's winning that he's not coaching. Try to wrap your head around that. He's doing nothing but sitting on and watching television and talking to recruits for LSU, while the team that that he coached a month and a half ago is playing for a very strong possibility of ending up in the national championship game. They do have a tough time. We talked about that as they get ready to go against Miami, but man, we'll see. So, yeah, this clip on Lane Kiffin, I got to say, all credit to Lane because I have no idea how he pulled that one off. It's or how gullible LSU was to take care of it. But it's just he's a lucky dude. He really is. Let's go back to our buddies at on Twitter or X if you prefer. And okay. All right, reports. This is another USF thing. Thank you, T-Bone Nation, for saying this. It appears that USF has hired another member of Coach Hartline's inaugural coaching staff. Reports are coming out that Antoine Richardson is being hired to coach USF in probably the defensive backs job. Antoine Richardson, good coach, good guy. Kudos to him, and hopefully they'll be right. Jason Watkins, how are you, my friend? Good to see you up there. Okay, hey, by the way, Jason's got a question about, and I'll get to Jason in a minute, but you got to check out Jason's Hall of Fame Media Group, which outstanding podcast, outstanding meeting and understanding of football. And the product is no longer just football. The product is the fight about football. That's what the CFP has become, and that's why I think it is broken. Well, strong statement, Mr. Watkins. But then again, you are someone who knows what they're talking about. So, I don't know that it's broken, honestly, Jason. I'm not crazy about the way things are being run. There's a lack of true consistency here. And I think that when we go to 16 teams, which seemingly is inevitable, that there's going to have to be a restructuring of how this is done. Very likely we're going to go to an NFL style type format. There's been a number of them proposed. The most likely one is a bit of it's kind of a mishmash of it. Like, I hate to call it a super conference. It'd be like 24 teams, maybe 30 teams that would be there. And then there would be like a subdivision below that. And there would be like a relegation like you have in the English Premier League, where if you finish in the bottom four and the top four of the second tier have better records, then they can advance to there. It's that kind of craziness. All right, it is going to get crazy. It's crazy already. Is it good? Is it great? To me, this year it is, because we're seeing Miami, Ole Miss, Oregon, Indiana. If you look at those teams, right, over the last 5-10 years, the only team that you wouldn't be surprised to see in a Final Four is Oregon. Dan Lanning has done an outstanding job before him. Cristobal when Mario was there, even to Willie Taggart going that far back, right? So Oregon has consistently been there. Um, Ole Miss, that would not be on anybody's bingo card. Okay. Miami, okay, that's a fair, but they haven't been there for a long time. So Miami, the name we remember, and they've had a tradition, but they're still a surprise team. And possibly the biggest surprise of all is what Kurt Ciletti has done in Indiana. I mean, if we were talking about basketball Final Four, I don't. Maybe that would be a lot of people go, well, yes, of course, Indiana. Right now, Indiana might be the best team in the country. I said before that I thought Miami is. A Miami Indiana game in the final would be that might be a bare knuckles brawl. I mean, that would be. These are two incredibly physical teams. So the idea that Indiana right now is the number one team in the country and might just be the number one team uh, for years to come in the Big Ten is pretty amazing. So I don't know, Jason, whether it's broken or not, but I do think that we've got a very entertaining Final Four. And frankly, as I said earlier, any one of those two, any one of those four teams could easily win it. So there you go on that one. Let's see what we got more on X. Okay. Why hasn't Washington State and Oregon State been advanced to Power Four status? And why hasn't the Pac been? That's an interesting question, Greg. Um, I, I, I think Washington State and Oregon State both got the shaft whenever the Pac dissolved. It didn't have to dissolve. They were reactionary and just messed up something. They just took 100 years of history and blew it up. They have no one to blame but themselves. But the two schools, Oregon State and Washington State, who got left behind, I feel badly for you, fans. I do. You were in Power Four conference for nearly 70 years, and then all of a sudden now you're playing with teams in the Mountain West. Good teams, by the way, in the Mountain West as well, but it's not a P4 conference, and so I can see where you're upset. I don't have an answer for that. I truly don't. I don't think that if the Big 12 expands, that they're headed that direction. I think they're headed south if they do. Maybe Memphis, UConn, maybe that situation. I don't know. I don't know. I think that we're going to have to keep an eye on it from a standpoint of what's next for those schools. I wouldn't. I just can't say I'm sitting here today on the second day of 2026 optimistic that Oregon State and Washington State are going to return to anything that comes close to a Power Four conference anytime soon. But I'm hoping wrong. I've been known to have that situation before. What do we got here? Hang on, Instagram. I'm getting to you. An Instagram question being, is this Aaron Rodgers' last game or last year? You guys, I'll tell you. I'm going to go with no and no. I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go out on a losing cause here. I think he wants to win this game. I think Pittsburgh has the tools to beat Baltimore. Baltimore's been playing well lately. They've had a few bumps in the road. I'll be honest with you. I would start if I were Harbaugh, Snoop Huntley. Now I know earlier in the week we talked about this, and Matthew and I had an interesting conversation about what would we do, Baltimore. But Snoop Huntley is runs that offense really well. He hasn't been hurt. He's got a great arm, can throw on the run. He runs the RPO not as great as Lamar Jackson. And I know you're sitting there, Baltimore fans are going, "What, Williams? Were you crazy? You're telling me that you would rather, keep Lamar Jackson, a multiple MVP, on the bench and put, Snoop in the game?" Uh, I'm sorry. Yes, I would. Why? Because A, he's healthy. B, he's doing everything right that for the team. He's running the team like he's been the top quarterback on the team for the entire year. So why mess with that? I don't know. Lamar has we had the full week of practice. He's not running like he normally would, and who would expect him to? I mean, he's been beat up all season. So I'm not dogging on him. I'm just simply saying, you know, I think Snoop gives him a better chance. Now, on the Pittsburgh side of the ball, what do they have to do? Well, they have to run. That's something, and they've been doing that pretty well. Last week against last week against Cleveland, Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, um, in my own personal opinion, called one of the most conservative and stupid games I've seen in years. Um, they didn't throw downfield. Now, yes, they're missing some key personnel, but they've got tight ends and they've got good tight ends. They've got backs. They've got people they can throw to. Aaron Rodgers can dink and dunk his way down the field and get them in there and do what he could have done. He didn't throw to Fryermuth until the fourth quarter, and I don't get that. I mean, Pat Fryermuth is one of the guys that he's one of the guys that got you to this position where you could play in the playoffs. He's a hell of a tight end, greatly underrated, I should say, and so we'll see. But at the end of the day, I really do think that that's going to be an interesting game. To your point about is it, I'll even go to this extent. If the Steelers lose, and of course that means obviously that Aaron Rodgers will lose. I still think that Aaron Rodgers will want to come back and play one more year in Pittsburgh. I don't think he wants to go out not, doing like Brett Favre. I don't know if you remember, Brett went to after the Jets fiasco, went to Minnesota and got them to the playoffs. Now, obviously, he didn't win, but he got them to the playoffs. I think that's where Aaron Rodgers wants. I think Aaron Rodgers would be great, happy if he could get the team to the Steelers to the playoffs, and then he would, no matter what happened, and then he would probably come back next year if they wanted him to. But I don't look that there's going to be a huge um, market out there for a 42-year-old quarterback, even though he won multiple MVPs and he's Aaron Rodgers. All righty, what do we got here? Oh, that's a good one. Bo Nix or Caleb Williams? Who's the better young quarterback? Oof, that's a tough one. Now I love Bo Nix. Um, I had Bo Nix as I thought the when we talked about this months ago, and you can check the tapes for those who think I'm pulling this. I said that Bo Nix fit Sean Payton's offense in Denver to a T. He was a plug and play. Uh, it would take him a little while to get to get great, but he could win games for Denver. He's proven to be much better than that. Caleb Williams, it's unfair. Okay, to now he's taken he had problems last year in Chicago, and that was a combination of being a rookie and secondarily not having, what he needed to win in Chicago. So it's not his fault, totally. But the Bears changed the coaches, the whole routine, and now they're good. Now they've got good players, and he's playing well. Does that mean he's better than Bo Nix? He's more athletic than Bo Nix. I'll give him that. Uh, is he better in the? Does he run the? He runs the RPO, which is what a lot of teams play in the league, as you guys know. He runs it well, and he's doing it, at a high level. And so I like that. But the Sean Payton situation in Denver, where Sean has a specific way he likes his offense run. Bo Nix is perfect for that. I mean, he's taller and he's probably got a better arm than Drew Brees. So, yeah, I mean, is it unfair to decide one or the other? I would still say right now Bo Nix is a little bit ahead of Caleb Williams in that department. So there's that. Let's see, we got time for about one or two more questions. What do we got? Let's look over here. We got one. Josh, what do you got for me? Okay. Is Lane watching film and sending Golding notes? No. I have no doubt that Josh, I can tell you, my friend, that ain't happening. There has been conversations because some of the coaches have been moving back and forth, we know. But no, he's not doing that. It's and you've got a PhD in common sense, so I respect that, Josh. That would be very unlane-like, but I think that Coach Golding and I just think that they have they've kind of walled themselves off from the Lane Kiffin thing because it's more of a distraction. And I don't think that they would ever want that to come out that Lane is watching film and sending Golding notes. I think what's going on is Lane is going out and doing what he's being paid to do by LSU, which is recruiting and trying to put together a good roster for the Tigers from that standpoint. So let's see how that goes. But thanks for the question, Josh. Have a great weekend, and wish I had a PhD in common sense. Let's see. We got time for one more. So let's see what we got over on X. Okay, Todd Bowles. Is Todd Bowles going to be fired? Well, that's a loaded question. I would have to say, if the Buccaneers lose tomorrow, which is certainly possible, or they win and Atlanta wins, and so they still don't make it, I would have to say there's a very good chance he does. In large, is it fair? No, because he's been a pretty good defensive coordinator and he's had a lot of people hurt. But expectations were big for the Buccaneers this year, and they've had numerous opportunities to seize it, and now it's all out of their hands. So at the end of the day, I don't know what to tell you other than no. I don't think that I think it's going to be very difficult for the Glazers to evaluate Todd and say that nah, we'll go there. But I do think this. There's a possibility that if he stays, and that's where we're looking at this, if he stays, he will have to hire another offensive coordinator. I think that's where the issue will be. So hope that answers your question. All right, guys. Let's review. Great Final Four in the CFP. a week from tonight, we'll have the Big Ten showdown between Oregon and Indiana. That game will be played in Atlanta in the Peach Bowl. Over in Phoenix, we're going to get that, or in Tempe, I should say. We're going to get that Fiesta Bowl with Miami and Ole Miss. So storylines abound. Read the stories on all of our sports talk outlets, and we're going to have a ton of them all week long. Saturday, Steelers and Ravens. I'll take the Steelers only because they're at home, and I think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers will show up and play hard. I think the Ravens will as well. I don't know how banged up Lamar Jackson is, but again, as I said earlier, I think I would have started Snoop Hundley, but nobody asked me about that. Game at night, 49ers are playing better than anybody in football right now, so I would go with the 49ers there. As I said, the Bears, if they can win, and hopefully the 49ers win, then they can sneak in and get that second seed. I think the Bears will win. I think they get the second seed. Doesn't really matter, frankly, at that point. Anything else? All right. What do we got here? I'm just looking for one last anything. All right. Nope, that's about it. All right. So, okay, everybody. Have a great weekend. Matt's going to join us back again on Monday. And enjoy the games. There's plenty of them. That's for darn sure. And be safe. Have a new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy, healthy, and hopefully peaceful New Year. Take care, everyone.